I remember the excitement leading up to our wedding like it was yesterday. The air was thick with anticipation, and I could almost hear the heartbeat of the entire world as it beat faster for us. Everyone around us as family, friends, colleagues, was just as excited as I was. I had waited for this day for years, and everything seemed perfect. But as the days ticked closer to the wedding, I noticed something strange. My fiancé, Chris, seemed a little off. It was subtle at first. He would check his phone, and his face would tighten for a moment, then he'd shake it off. He'd get quiet at times when I was around his family, which was unusual. We always got along well. My mind raced, trying to pinpoint the reason for the change. Was he having second thoughts? Was it the wedding nerves? But I told myself that couldn't be it. This was the man I was about to marry, the man I had shared dreams with, fought through the hard times with, and loved with all my heart. I brushed it off, chalking it up to pre-wedding stress. Everyone was under pressure, and his parents had been on us both for months, constantly offering unsolicited advice, trying to control every little detail of the wedding. It was exhausting. From flower arrangements to the guest list, nothing was left to us. But I didn't mind. I was determined to keep the peace for Chris. After all, they were his family. And I wanted him to have a good relationship with them, despite the tension between us. But as the days passed, I started to notice more. Chris and I had been in the middle of planning the seating arrangements when I saw him get a text. His expression instantly soured, and he slipped the phone back into his pocket. "What's wrong?" I asked, trying to sound casual, though I could feel a knot forming in my stomach. He hesitated. "It's nothing. Just work stuff." I didn't push it. I didn't want to seem. He was distant in a way I'd never seen before, even in our toughest moments. Something was off. A week before the wedding, I decided to ask Chris point blank if everything was okay. Maybe it was the tension from the wedding preparations. Maybe something else. But I had to know. I loved him too much to ignore my instincts. We were sitting on the couch together, the wedding countdown ticking away. I could almost feel the weight of the day pressing on me. "Chris," I started, my voice steady but my heart racing. "Are you okay? You've seemed distant lately." He looked at me, a brief flash of guilt crossing his face before he quickly masked it. "I'm fine, Zoe. Just a little stressed. You know how it is. Everything is coming together, and my parents are. Well, you know." I nodded, pretending to understand, but the unease continued to churn in my stomach. I could tell he wasn't being entirely honest, but I didn't know what to say. So, I decided to let it go. At least for now. The week leading up to the wedding felt like a blur. There were final fittings, last-minute touches, and 1,000 little things that needed attention. Everyone was on edge, and I tried to stay focused on the bigger picture. I wanted to marry Chris. I wanted this day to be perfect. But as I woke up every morning, the tension gnawed at me, and each day felt like I was walking a fine line. Then came the day that everything changed. It was the night before our wedding. Chris and I had just finished dinner, and he was acting strange again, distracted, uneasy. I had tried to push my concerns away, but now, I couldn't ignore it any longer. The veil of calm was starting to slip, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to come crashing down. That's when I received a call. I didn't recognize the number, but something told me to answer. I pressed the phone to my ear, and a voice on the other end sent a chill through me. "Zoe? It's Lydia." Lydia. I knew her well. She was one of Chris's childhood friends, though we had never gotten along particularly well. She was always too perfect, too eager to please Chris's family. She smiled too much, laughed too easily. There was something about her that always rubbed me the wrong way. "What is it, Lydia?" I asked, trying to keep the annoyance out of my voice. "I'm so sorry to bother you right now, but I need to tell you something important." It's about Chris, she said, her voice dropping low, full of suspicion. I didn't want to do this, but I think you need to know. A shiver ran down my spine. What is it? Listen, this isn't easy to say, but I've seen Chris with another woman. She's been around a lot lately, and I think she's interested in him. More than she should be. My breath caught in my throat. What do you mean? Who is she? Her next words hit me like a punch to the gut. It's someone from your wedding planning group. Her name is Rachel. I saw them together at the bridal shop last week. She looked way too comfortable with him. It's obvious there's something going on between them, and I think you deserve to know. I felt like the ground had just been pulled out from beneath me. My head spun. Rachel? One of the bridesmaids? No. It couldn't be true. Chris wouldn't do that. He couldn't. But the look on Lydia's face when she told me, something in her eyes, told me she wasn't lying. I didn't even realize I had ended the call until I heard the sound of Chris's voice behind me. Zoe, who was that? I turned to him, my heart hammering in my chest. Why don't you tell me, Chris? My voice was tight, barely above a whisper. What's going on with you and Rachel? His face drained of color, and for a long moment, he just stood there, unable to meet my eyes. Finally, he sighed. Zoe, I didn't want you to find out this way. I crossed my arms, trying to hold back the tears that threatened to spill. Tell me. Now. Chris finally spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. Rachel and we've been spending time together. I didn't want to hurt you. I didn't mean for it to happen, but I don't know what to do. I've been confused. I felt like I had been slapped in the face. Confused? Confused, before I could respond, his phone buzzed. He checked it, and I saw the change in his expression. His lips tightened, and I could tell something was off. What is it? I asked, fear creeping up my spine. It's my mom. She wants to talk. That was it. The last straw. My in-laws had done it. They had orchestrated this whole thing. They knew exactly what they were doing, setting up Rachel to create doubt, to tear us apart. The moment the pieces clicked in my mind, everything became clear. They had tried to ruin my marriage. The night felt endless. My mind raced with thoughts and accusations, but I knew I couldn't do anything in the heat of the moment. Chris had confessed, he'd admitted to his emotional infidelity, even if it hadn't gone further yet. But what really stung wasn't his betrayal. It was the fact that it wasn't just him. My in-laws had been manipulating the situation from behind the scenes, pushing him into this. I could feel the weight of it all pressing down on me. Like a cloud ready to burst. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. So, I did the only thing I could think of. I left. I didn't even bother packing my bags, I just grabbed my phone and my wallet and walked out of the apartment. It wasn't the first time I'd stormed off in frustration, but this time, there was no going back without answers. I drove around the city aimlessly, not really knowing where I was going, but needing to clear my head. The wedding was just days away, and I was supposed to be walking down the aisle with the love of my life. But it felt like everything I knew was slipping through my fingers. How had we gotten here? After what seemed like hours, I ended up in front of Chris's parents' house, the place where it had all started. I hadn't meant to come here, but I needed answers. I needed to confront them. His mother answered the door, a polite smile on her face that quickly faded when she saw me. Zoe, she said, her voice laced with hesitation. What are you doing here? I stepped forward, my hands trembling with anger. We need to talk, I said firmly. Where's Chris? Chris isn't here right now, she replied, her tone defensive. But whatever this is, Zoe, can't it wait? It's all just stress before the wedding. You're making it worse than it is. I could feel the heat rising in my chest. This wasn't just pre-wedding stress. This was manipulation. This was betrayal. But before I could speak, Chris's father came into the room. His expression wasn't quite as welcoming. "Zoe, you should be getting ready for your big day, not causing trouble. What's going on here?" he asked, his voice thick with condescension. I took a deep breath. "I know about Rachel," I said, each word sharp, biting through the air. "And I know what you two did. You set her up with Chris." The room went silent. His parents exchanged uneasy glances, but neither of them spoke. "I don't know what you're talking about," his mother said, the words forced. "There's nothing going on. Rachel's just a friend of Chris's, and you're making something out of nothing. This is your imagination running wild." My heart pounded in my chest as I stepped forward, closer to her. "Don't lie to me. I've already talked to Lydia. She told me everything." Lydia. Her name seemed to hang in the air, and his mother's face tightened. "Lydia has no idea what she's talking about," she said quickly, but the flicker of guilt in her eyes told me everything I needed to know. "She's just trying to stir trouble." I took another step closer. "You've been manipulating everything, haven't you? You're not happy that Chris and I are getting married. You never have been. You've been setting this up from the start, planting seeds of doubt in his mind, getting him close to Rachel, and now this." Chris's father stepped in, trying to deflect the blame. "You don't know what you're talking about. We only want what's best for our son. This wedding, this whole thing, it's moving too fast. We just want him to think carefully about what he's doing." "Think carefully?" I repeated, my voice rising. "You've been trying to break us up. You don't care about his happiness. You care about controlling him. About making sure he doesn't leave the family nest. You can't stand the thought of him with me, can you?" The silence that followed was suffocating. His mother finally spoke, her voice quieter now, but laced with an undeniable bitterness. "You think we're the problem here? You're the one who's been pulling him away from his family. You're the one who's taken him from us." I shook my head in disbelief. "I'm not the one pushing him away. You are. You've been doing it for years, using your control, your manipulation, everything you could to make sure he stays tethered to you. But I'm not going to let you ruin this. I love him, and I'm going to marry him, whether you like it or not." I turned to leave, but before I could get far, Chris's father called out to me. "You really think you're going to make him happy? You don't know him like we do. You'll never be enough for him." I stopped dead in my tracks, every muscle in my body tensing. The words hung in the air like poison. It was everything I needed to hear, though. It was the final confirmation. I wasn't just fighting Chris's indecisiveness. I was fighting a war with his parents, a war they had started long before I even knew who they were. I turned to face them one last time. "You've made your choice," I said. My voice steady now, my resolve hardening. "And I'm making mine." I spent the night in a hotel, too upset to return home. The confrontation with Chris's parents had left me drained, but I knew I couldn't give up now. I had a choice to make. The next day, the day before the wedding, I finally got a chance to speak to Chris. He had been texting me all night, apologizing, pleading with me to come back, to forgive him, but I wasn't ready to make that decision yet. I needed answers. I needed to understand why he'd let himself get manipulated like this. I went back to our apartment and found him sitting on the couch, his face pale and tired. His eyes were swollen from lack of sleep. And when he saw me, he stood up too quickly, as if he'd been waiting for me to come home. "Zoe," he said, his voice trembling. "I'm so sorry. I never meant for it to happen. You have to believe me." I crossed my arms, looking at him with a mixture of anger and disappointment. "You didn't mean for it to happen, Chris? You've been spending time with her, getting close to Rachel, and you didn't mean for it to happen?" He started, but I cut him off. "Chris, don't lie. Don't give me excuses. You've let them control you. You've let your parents manipulate you, and now you want me to believe it's all just a misunderstanding? I didn't think it would get this far, he admitted, his eyes welling up with tears. I didn't want to hurt you. I didn't know how to get out of it. They kept pressuring me, and I was scared. I was so scared of losing them. I stared at him, feeling both sympathy and anger. You were scared of losing them? And you're willing to throw away everything for that? He shook his head, desperate now. No, Zoe. I don't want to lose you. Please, don't walk away from me. But I couldn't help it. I felt the walls closing in around me. I had spent so many years trying to make everyone happy, trying to keep the peace between us. But now it was all crumbling. The person I thought I was marrying wasn't the person standing in front of me anymore. He was someone who had let his family tear us apart. I can't do this anymore, Chris, I said quietly, the weight of the decision pressing on my chest. I can't marry you. Not like this. Not when I know your family is always going to come between us. Tears filled his eyes as he stepped forward, but I held up my hand to stop him. You've made your choice, I whispered. And I've made mine. I turned and walked out, the finality of it sinking in. This wasn't just about a girl and a misunderstanding. It was about control, manipulation, and a lifetime of promises broken by the people who should have supported us the most. I had to let go. For my own peace. For my own sanity. And for my future. The days following the confrontation felt like they lasted years. Chris tried to contact me repeatedly, but I was resolute in my decision. I couldn't go back. I couldn't keep playing this game where his parents controlled every aspect of our relationship, pulling the strings like we were marionettes in their twisted play. I knew that, deep down, Chris needed to see the truth for himself. He needed to realize what had been done to him, how his parents had manipulated him, and how much he had lost in the process. One morning, as I sat in my apartment, sipping coffee, I received an unexpected call. It was Chris. I hesitated, staring at the phone for a moment before picking it up. Zoe, I need to talk to you, his voice came through, shaking with urgency. I know everything now. I saw it with my own eyes. I couldn't help the surge of relief that washed over me. This was what I had been waiting for. I had known it was just a matter of time before he would see the truth. But I needed him to tell me, to come to that conclusion on his own. What do you mean? I asked, keeping my voice calm but tinged with a trace of hope. I went to Rachel's place, he continued, his words tumbling out in a rush. I wanted to understand, Zoe. I wanted to know what was really going on. And when I showed up, I saw them. My parents. They were there, talking to her, paying her. A chill ran down my spine. They were paying her? Yes, he said, his voice barely above a whisper, they were giving her money to keep this whole thing going. They were paying her to keep up the act, to keep pretending she was interested in me so they could break us up. They wanted me to believe I had feelings for her, that she was the one I was supposed to be with, so they could control me. The weight of his words hit me like a punch in the gut. I had always known his parents were controlling, but I never imagined they would go this far. It wasn't just manipulation anymore, it was outright betrayal. They had orchestrated the entire thing, using Rachel as a pawn to tear us apart. Chris continued, his voice filled with disbelief. I confronted them. I asked them why they were doing this, and they didn't even deny it. They said they thought I was making a mistake, that you weren't good enough for me, that you were too independent, too strong. They said I needed to marry someone who would follow their rules, who would make me part of the family. And when I asked about Rachel, about her, specifically, they just shrugged it off. Like it was all part of their plan. I could hear the pain in his voice now. The realization was settling in, and I knew it had hit him harder than anything else. He had been used, manipulated, and betrayed by the very people who were supposed to love and support him. But it wasn't just his parents who were at fault, it was his own inability to see it before now. "Chris, I'm so sorry," I said softly, my heart aching for him. "I never wanted you to go through this. I never wanted to be the one to leave, but you needed to see the truth. You needed to see how deep their control really goes." "I know," he replied, his voice thick with emotion. "I should have seen it. I should have listened to you when you told me. But I was blind. I thought I could make it work. I thought I could make them happy." "Chris, you can't make them happy if you're not happy with yourself," I said gently. "And you can't keep sacrificing your happiness for theirs. You have to make your own choices, your own life. You can't keep living in their shadow." He was silent for a moment, and I could hear the sound of him moving around, pacing. "I know. I know now. I've been a fool, Zoe. I've let them dictate everything, even my love life. I thought I was doing what was best for me, but all I was doing was playing into their hands." I took a deep breath, trying to find the right words. "I'm not asking you to fix everything right away. I'm not even asking you to choose me right now. But you need to make a choice, Chris. You need to decide who you want to be, whether you want to be the person your parents want you to be, or the person you truly are." "I know what I want now," he said with a certainty I hadn't heard in his voice before. "I want to be with you, Zoe. I've always wanted to be with you. I'm done letting them control me." I felt a flicker of hope, but I couldn't let myself get swept up in it just yet. The road ahead would be long, and the damage they had caused wasn't going to be easily undone. But hearing him say those words was a step in the right direction. It was the first time in a long time that I felt like Chris was finally seeing the bigger picture. "I hope you mean that," I said softly. "Because if you truly want to be with me, it's going to take more than just words. It's going to take action. You have to cut them out of your life. You have to stand up to them, even if it's hard." "I will," he promised. "I'll do whatever it takes. I won't let them tear us apart again." Chris spent the next few days trying to piece his life back together. He went through a series of uncomfortable but necessary conversations with his parents, confronting them about their manipulation, their lies, and their attempts to control his life. It was hard for him. They were his parents, after all, and breaking free from them felt like betraying everything he had known. But it was something he had to do if he wanted to be free of their influence. As for Rachel, she was no longer in the picture. Chris made it clear to her that he knew the truth, that she had been paid to interfere with our relationship, and she faded out of his life as quickly as she had appeared. The days that followed were filled with hard conversations, moments of healing, and rebuilding trust. But there was still a long road ahead. Chris had a lot of work to do to prove that he was committed to me and to our future. I wasn't going to settle for anything less. We spent time together, talking through everything, sharing our fears and our hopes for the future. Slowly, we began to rebuild the relationship that had almost been torn apart by deceit. And while I wasn't ready to rush into anything, I could feel the old spark between us reigniting. It wasn't just about love anymore. It was about trust. It was about standing up for each other, no matter the obstacles. And it was about creating a future where we could finally be free from the manipulation. Free from the control, free from the past. But I knew one thing for sure. We were both stronger now, and we weren't going to let anyone, not even his parents, tear us apart again.